Hello. Good morning. I hope y'all are having a lovely day today. So to begin us off, I figured we could start with a little bit of scaling. So I'm also trying to find a bench before we get super started. I'm at a local park. Oh, I see that. I'm at a local park. There's no one in it right now. Trying to do my best to social distance. Right. There we go. Yes, and it looks like you are the only one here. So far, hopefully some folks will join us. Okay, so I'm just going to go for it, and people can catch up as they're ready. So starting off with some scaling, this is a check-in, so picking an emotion or a sensation, and giving it a number between 1 and 10. So 1 being not feeling that thing very much at all, and 10 being like the most you have ever felt the thing. So the goal of that is to do a check-in before we do the exercise, and then we'll check in again at the end. This can be a way to see sort of how effective the skills are and the practices. So if you notice that your number's gone down, this could be a sign that this is a useful skill for you. If your number hasn't changed or is hopefully not gone up, then maybe this is not the skill for you, and that's totally fine. So I'm going to take just a few minutes here. Normally I'd be writing this down, but outside, so I'm just going to think about it. And give you a hot minute to, think about what you'd like to be mindful about, pay some attention to today. Good question here. Should you have a notebook for this? I think it's always handy to have a journal nearby or some way to track these things. You don't have to. This could also be just a mental check-in. I happen to like writing a lot, so I usually have one nearby. Keeping a written record, too, can be helpful as far as, like, mood tracking. I know sometimes folks, myself included, can get kind of caught in the mindset of, I don't feel good right now, and this is... Oh, sorry, there's a truck nearby. This is the only way I've ever felt, and this is the only way I will ever feel in the future. So keeping a written record can actually sometimes provide a little evidence of like, no, Kian, you haven't felt like garbage every day for your entire life. This is a thing that's been going on for a day or 2 days. Or longer sometimes, but it can be a good physical reminder that what I'm experiencing is in this moment, right? The next moment may be different. And we'll be talking about that a little bit today, too. So before we start the actual walking part of the walking meditation, I wanted to sort of prime us with I don't know if you'd call it a thought exercise, but a coping skill. So this is something that I learned from one of my supervisors that I really, really like. Again, sort of useful for helping to bring us back into the moment. So sometimes as humans, we can do a really, really, really good job of pairing thoughts with physical sensations and then getting stuck there. So that could be my heart, and actually it's a little bit of a biological feedback loop. So my heart starts pounding because my heart is pounding for whatever reason, and my brain's like, oh, heart is pounding. That means we're in danger. Where's the danger? So if our body is having a physical reaction to something, we can actually create an inner narrative to make that sensation make sense. And that narrative is not necessarily grounded in something that's happening immediately, right? If my heart is pounding and my brain's like, where's the saber-toothed tiger? Like, well, there's probably not a saber-toothed tiger. There's probably something else going on. And the same can also be true if I have perceived danger. If I have the internal narrative that something dangerous is happening, I can actually trigger a physical response to that as well. So having the thought of, I'm about to talk to a stranger, I'm about to go on stage, that's a scary thing, and my body's like, well, gotta catch up, that's a totally scary thing. So this exercise is about sort of challenging that automatic pairing. So, and this can be either written down or said out loud, something kinetic, something to do with your body, either if that's writing, typing, or using your mouth parts. So saying whatever the thought is that's sort of causing this feeling or paired with this feeling. So, for example, that could be, examples failing me today. I'm anxious because I'm about to go to the grocery store. So that's a statement of being. I am anxious. I am occupying this reality. So to sort of create some distance and create some ability to observe our thoughts rather than getting sort of enmeshed and overwhelmed by them, I would say the thought that I'm having out loud, I'm anxious because I have to go to the grocery store, and then do a bit of a body scan, see what comes up in my body when I say this thing. Am I experiencing a pounding heart, a shift in body temperature, sort of what's going on? And if you want to get super nerdy, you can scale that too, of 1 to 10, how anxious or unsettled do I feel? So once you've done that, moving on and saying or writing, I'm having the thought that I am about to go, I'm anxious. I'm having the thought that I'm anxious because I'm about to go into the grocery store. Then you do the same thing. You do the body scanning, you do the scaling, and see how just creating that little bit of distance, not I am anxious, I am having the thought that I am anxious. See if anything shifts in your body when you repeat that out loud. And even taking it a step further, the next phrase would be, I am noticing that I am having the thought that I am anxious because I'm about to go into the grocery store. So creating a lot of distance, that is a big level of observation. And it's a lot of awareness of thoughts, right? I am not occupying the reality that I am anxious. I am noticing that that is the direction my brain is trying to go right now. So hopefully that's useful. And then again, scaling and comparing to, if you've done scaling, comparing that to beginning, and also noticing if there is a space in your body where the sensation has shifted. So we'll be using that to incorporate a little bit into today's meditation, just around noticing physical sensations, noticing any thoughts that go along with that. So just taking a moment in your own time, and as you are ready, I am finding myself noticing the sensation that my arm is a little bit stiff, perhaps because I've been holding at my phone. Okay, so before we even start walking, to answer the question, I don't actually know what the name of this skill is. So scaling is just the process of rating whatever from 1 to 10. So we include scaling as a component of a lot of other coping skills, again, just to see if they're working. I can ask the person whom I learned that skill from what the specific name is. And again, to reflect back, you're right, they're a DBT therapist, and so it is part of that modality. For folks who are familiar with it and have tried it before. So I'll go through a few of the modifications before we get started. So I am going to be walking around the park. I'll be walking outside. Not everybody has access to these things right now. Not everybody can go outside. And some folks have mobility stuff. Some folks live with chronic pain, right? So physical movement can be a complicated thing. So sort of top down, the goals of this exercise are, again, just to notice sensation and notice thought processes that go along with it, and slowing down and tuning into the details of the things that make up physical sensation. So if walking outside is not accessible, this could be walking inside, walking around your apartment, whatever works. If walking itself is not accessible, this can be any type of movement that orients your body in space and time. So that could be making circles with your arm. That could be literally like just moving your head back and forth and experiencing the sensations of the muscles that are involved with that movement, and the other sensations you get from looking around. Even opening and closing a hand. Anything that your body can do to move through space can be used to do this exercise. So, as always, you're encouraged to find what feels most accessible to you right now. And to answer another question, petting a cat and wiggling toes totally works. Again, anything to move our body in space. We're going to be looking at proprioception as well, which is literally, I shouldn't use the word literally when I am actually not 100% sure, but it is the sensation that we get from gravity, right? The feedback that we get from our inner ear that tells us, balance, there we go. It's like balance and pressure. So anything that's going to help awareness of those things can totally work for this. So starting out, you're invited to just take a moment to feel into where you're at right now, potentially finding some stillness, slowing down a little bit, tuning into your breath if that feels interesting. Just noticing what's up with your body. I'm going to go through a few rounds of breath myself and then continue on. And if it's interesting, you can take this opportunity to notice any areas of higher sensation, lower sensation. That could look like feelings of tightness or looseness. tuning into environmental sensations. What do you notice about maybe the temperature of the place that you're in? Noticing gravity, the feel of your body connected to whatever it's connected to. For me, I am sitting at a park bench. I have my feet on the ground, so I can feel a few points of connection with the earth. Maybe tuning in and noticing any differences between the areas where you feel connection and the areas where you don't feel connection. Just with open-hearted curiosity, not judging, not trying to change anything, just noticing. Maybe tuning into some other senses. What smells do you smell? What sounds can you hear? Not striving to identify anything, or even really make meaning out of it, just noticing the qualities of sensation around you. And by qualities, I mean, are the sounds sharp? Are they high-pitched? Are they low and rumbly? And if you're noticing your mind wandering to other things, you're encouraged to just gently draw it back to your surroundings, whether that's breath, feelings in your body, outside sensations that you're noticing. Just allowing yourself to be in this space for a moment. And in your own time, as you're ready, maybe starting to incorporate a little bit of movement. See how that feels. For me, I'm doing a few foot ankle rolls right now. This might look like swaying, wiggling, whatever seems interesting in the moment. I heard a dear sweet friend once who is they're a therapist who works with trauma in a really body-centered way, a trauma-informed way. And one of the ways that they framed things that I really, really appreciated is when things feel out of control. And there are things that we cannot control. Something that can be incredibly healing is to tune into the areas where we do have bodily control. And again, working with a lot of trauma, sometimes our brains get hijacked by stuff. So if I can't control maybe what my heart is doing right now, I cannot directly control that. Maybe I can control what my hands are doing or what my breath is doing. So reestablishing consent for ourselves. All right, so in your own time, as you're ready to move on, you can start incorporating some more maybe was going to say intense gravity sensations. I'm standing up. That is the movement that I am choosing to do. So incorporating whatever foundation you're laying for exploration of space. Pausing here a moment to notice any difference in sensation from changing posture sitting to standing. Whew. Excuse me, it's still a little bit early here. Well, early for me. When we're experiencing sensations for this exercise, if it feels accessible, maybe leaning towards non-judgmental language. And what I mean by that is moving away from language that assigns meaning as good or bad. So, for example, I'm noticing that there is some intense sensation in my fingertips right now. So it is a little bit chilly here in the Pacific Northwest. So instead of saying, my hands hurt because it's freaking cold out here, I am going to frame that as I am experiencing an intense sensation of temperature. And I am noticing the sensation of tingling in my fingertips. I am going to make a conscious and mindful choice right now to continue holding my phone up. I also allow myself to make the conscious choice to switch arms if I need to. Right now, I'm going to lean into what I'm experiencing in the moment and also acknowledge space and grace to change if I want to. All right. Maybe taking a moment here in your own time as it feels interesting. Again, to just explore gravity. If you're sitting down, this could look like shifting in your seat a little bit. Maybe raising a limb to experience what gravity feels like when it's just ourselves and our muscles. Alright, I am going to switch hands here because I'm noticing a particularly intense sensation in my biceps. And in your own time, as you're ready, starting to add a little bit more exploratory movement. And so for me, this is going to look like starting the process of walking. Moving slowly, mindfully, tuning into some of the details of sensation that we might overlook in our day-to-day lives. There's a lot of muscles involved in keeping and maintaining balance. So noticing the sensations that happen at the backs of the legs, the same time as sensation is being experienced in the heels, the sides and the front of our legs, helping us keep our balance. Maybe tuning into what toes feel like, what each individual toe feels like. Maybe noticing the quality of sensation of what your skin is feeling on the inside of your clothing or whatever your skin is touching. Maybe if it feels interesting, tuning into some of the textures that you feel. So if you're walking, that could look like what you're feeling underneath your feet. Is there softness there? Hardness? Sharpness? In my case, dampness. It is quite wet where I am. And as you're going through this movement, noticing what else is changing around you. Are you noticing more sounds than there were before? Maybe the sound that your body is making as it moves. Maybe sounds that started off a little bit closer, you're noticing are further away. Maybe noticing physical proximity to the stuff around you might be changing. Maybe in your own time, if it feels interesting, stopping the movement for a moment and noticing any shift in sensation. Sense of personal bubble or orientation in space and time. All right. And we are close to the end of our time today. Feel free to try this exercise whenever it feels useful, if it feels useful. Outside, inside, whatever works for you. And again, when you're noticing your mind starting to wander, gently drawing it back in. Again, when we are sort of going back to the exercise at the beginning, if we feel like we're getting stuck in these thought processes, potentially adding some alternate sensations. So maybe I'm noticing that I'm having the thought that I'm anxious because I have to go to the grocery store. And I am also noticing the physical sensation of opening and closing my hand, right? There's an alternative to the heart pounding. There's something else going on. So to close us off, I invite you, if it feels good, to just pause wherever you're at. Maybe take a few more breaths. Maybe offering some gratitude to yourself for taking the time to do a little bit of self-care today. Maybe a little bit of gratitude for your body, for carrying you through the day in and day out. And in your own time, if it's useful, potentially revisiting that scaling that we did back at the beginning of the exercise. So taking a moment to notice now what that number is for you, if and how anything shifted. Maybe making a little bit of a note of, did this seem effective today? Did this seem less effective today? Also wanting to honor that experience of effectiveness can also be dependent on other factors, right? If it was pouring down rain, I think my experience of this might have been different than if it had been bright and sunny. Right now it's somewhere in the middle. So an example would be, I started off today, I scale anxiety frequently. I live with chronic anxiety. Have forever, am making friends with it right now. Have been making friends with it for a long time. So at the beginning of the exercise today, I scaled my anxiety at about a 5, which for me is a little bit higher than what I would say my baseline is. When I'm leading group exercises and when I am live streaming on the internet, those are new experiences for me. And as a relatively shy person, live streaming is new, not that leading a group is new. Oh, my brain froze. Where was I going with that? Oh, so it's a little bit higher than baseline. I'm a little bit shy. I'm a little bit introverted. So when I'm talking to people I don't know, sometimes I notice that my thoughts of anxiety tend to increase. My physical sensations start to shift a little bit in response. I was noticing that as I was walking over here. My internal state was moving around a little bit. And at the end of the exercise today, I would say my anxiety is maybe a 3 or a 4, which is pretty baseline for me. So getting settled in to exercise, getting settled into the practice, noticing that those numbers have shifted downward for me a little bit today. Also, just putting it out there, not every skill, first of all, not every skill is going to work. And also, well, I shouldn't say work. Not every skill is going to be effective, and not every skill is going to be effective every time. So if you notice something feels really effective for you today, but feels less effective tomorrow, it doesn't mean necessarily there's a problem with either the skill or with you. It could just be that that particular formula of whatever was happening during the day could have shifted. So also, you're encouraged to explore, right? Sometimes therapy looks like throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. Same thing with coping skills. And that is